Sprocketeers, welcome back to another episode of Safi Sprocket. I'm your host, Safi Sprocket, and today we're going to be diving into the world of compact action cameras with the much anticipated Insta360 GO. Now, I've been putting this camera to test in a variety of different scenarios during my motorcycle trip in Norway, and I've gotten some amazing shots with it. Now, in this video, I'll break down everything from its design to its performance, but before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on one of my latest videos, and let's get started.
This one was completely my fault.
Now, when it comes to motorcycle action cameras, it's a tough game for companies to break into. Bikers are creatures of habit, and they like to find something that works well and doesn't require a lot of faff. So you can imagine my skepticism when Insta360 asked me to review their new Go free camera. However, I was greeted with a whole new type of camera, and one that I never thought I would need. Now, first things first, let's talk about the design of the Insta360 GO. It's incredibly compact, weighing in at just 35 grams and boasting a sleek minimalist design. So small in fact that it actually acquired the title of the world's smallest action camera. This tiny but mighty camera is groundbreaking to say the least, mostly down to its versatility rather than its size, but I'll get to that later. Now, the tiny capsule-like GO, it closely resembles its predecessors, but includes a clever new action pod accessory. Now, what's interesting is the fact that this magnetic case not only serves as protection, but it also doubles as a charger. The action pod is essentially just a traditional action camera body that's missing the camera. Now, the GO snaps in magnetically, and it's not something you have to use, but it does make the GO a lot more useful than earlier models. The action pod also features a touchscreen with a flip-over design, so you can set up shots from the front or from behind the lens. It also cleverly works as a remote for the GO, so when it is detached, you can press record while setting your camera up elsewhere. Now, without the pod, the GO measures just 2 by 1 inches and weighs under 35 grams. You're basically taking an action camera that's the size of a pen drive. The build quality of it as well is also really phenomenal. However, one of the drawbacks to this camera is that it is so small. Sometimes it can take a little while to find in your rucksack. So you do have to keep an eye on this tiny powerhouse. Now, I'm about to blow your mind with this insanely well thought out design. Let's just say you've been biking for a few hours. You pull up to the side of the road and you want to get some footage of your mate Bill, who happened to walk into a lamppost. Silly Bill. Now, do you spend ages unscrewing the bolt of your helmet by the time Bill's already picked himself up off the floor? Or do you simply click, pull, and you're good to go? Now, versatility is all well and good, but how exactly does the footage hold up in the real world? So let's dive straight into the specs. The Insta360 GO packs a 1/2.3 inch sensor and the equivalent of a 35mm lens. The image quality is surprisingly sharp for such a small device, giving you 7 megapixel photo resolution at the tip of your fingers. However, where this thing really blows you out the water is the fact that it has a whopping resolution of 2.7K at 30 frames resolution for video recording, and the results are impressive, especially in well-lit conditions. Now, the 2.7K footage is clear, it's sharp, plus it supports many different color profile options. You can pick from standard, vivid, and also flat looks for basic editing, or you can go for an in-camera creative filter. In comparison, however, most action cameras do allow you to shoot up to 4K. However, in my experience, whenever I've shot in 4K, I've usually resized it down to 2.7K or vice versa. And by the time I've thrown the footage online, the compression rates of social media and YouTube have made it almost impossible to tell the difference. Which means that sure, you can go out and buy a 4K camera, and you can tell everyone that you own and film in 4K, but when your audience is sat at home watching your content on a tiny 7-inch mobile screen, it's kind of redundant. So by opting with a camera that has a lower resolution and a lot more versatility, it means that you're more likely to be producing more or less the same quality videos, or at least the same quality as perceived by your viewers. By itself, the wearable camera does record 2.7K footage, and most people won't even notice. Now, something worth talking about is the fact that not only can this camera record up to 2.7K, but it can also accompany you on underwater journeys of depths up to 16 feet. Now, the Go Free camera has an IPX8 waterproof rating, which means that you can use it for snorkeling, swimming, and some serious depths of around 5 meters. I am, of course, talking about the camera itself. The house that it sits in is rated up to IPX4, which basically means you can use it in the rain, and I have used this in the rain, but it shouldn't be submerged in water. Now let's talk about battery life. The battery life within the house lasts approximately 2 hours or 45 minutes outside the house. I was able to record continuously until the battery gave out without any overheating issues. This is partially down to the fact that Insta360 took the decision to limit video resolution to 2.7K. Now, in comparison, the GoPro Hero 11 Mini is known very well to run hot by comparison, and it can't last nearly as long, and that's partly down to the fact that it does roll up to 5.3K videos. Now let's talk about the pros of the Insta360 GO Free. One standout feature is the flow state stabilization, providing smooth footage even during intense activities. There has been times where I have more or less swung this thing around outside and you would be none the wiser. The thing that I mostly like about this camera, however, is in fact the magnetic pendant accessory, which allows for creative hand-free shooting angles, giving you more flexibility in capturing your adventures. This accessory is hands down the best thing that has been invented on the market for action cameras. I have no doubt in my mind that right now GoPro are kicking themselves for not thinking about this first. This has been incredible taking this on my journey. It's so simple and so well thought out, and it has made capturing some of the most amazing shots just so incredibly easy. Now, I was a little bit hesitant to use this thing at first because I was worried that the magnet wasn't strong enough, I was worried that the camera was too small, and effectively I was scared that it would fall off and get lost. However, this thing delivers, and it's become an absolute staple in my travel kit. Now, just to explain how the magnetic pendant accessory works, again, this is just, I love this so much. Basically, you have a wearable magnet that you put over the top of your shirt. You can actually wear it under your t-shirt or you can wear it over. Now, I tended to wear it over my motorcycle jacket because I also had a rucksack strap that went across my chest, which effectively pinned it down and kept it into place. But when I would arrive at the destination and I wanted to get some off-bike shots, instead of having to constantly unclip the camera, I would basically just hit the button, I would pull it out, I would hit record, and I would just do it there. And I got the most amazing shots. Let me show you. Good camping spot. Look at that. Oh. Now, when it comes to the pendant accessory, this thing has absolutely revolutionized my travel videos. I have become such a fangirl. I have been capturing the most amazing shots, and I love it so much. It's really freed up the time I spend on the road. It's freed up that mental load of having to set up a camera. I literally just show up at a place, pull it out, pop it on, hit go, ready to go. Now, historically, I have always tried to capture these first person shots by either holding an action camera, or sometimes I would actually just hold it in my mouth while I'm climbing up rocks and stuff. And it's never been great, but it's always allowed me to kind of get those shots that I want. Because obviously when I'm kind of climbing up rocks or down sand dunes and things, carrying a big bulky camera isn't gonna work well. I'm either gonna drop the camera or I'm gonna fall off. But with this camera, it has been fantastic because I don't really need to think about it. I don't really need to think about anything. There's one button to press record, there's one button to stop. I literally just wear it, forget that it's there, and just kind of enjoy the moment. And this is the thing that I love the most, is that I feel like traveling with this camera has made it so that traveling is less of a chore for me, and I can actually just like kind of submerge myself into the activity that I'm doing, which has always been a little bit difficult when filming videos, as you can imagine, because you do have to stop and start, and you do have to there is setup. But with this, because there is no longer any kind of setup, it means that I can just grab and go. And I love a camera that doesn't mean I have to think. I want to be able to just submerge myself and go. Now, the great thing about this camera is that unlike the Insta360's 360 camera, the file formats on this camera are standardized formats, which means whether you use the mobile phone app or whether you use an editing suite at home, there is no additional software to be installed. So if you're the kind of person who would prefer to use a third-party app as opposed to Instago's own app, you can do that. There is no requirement to install extra stuff if you don't want to, but if you do want to use the app, it is there for you to use. I personally use my computer because I have spent too much money on this thing not to use it, and I personally find using a computer to edit video footage a lot easier than using a phone app. That's a personal preference. I know a lot of younger people do prefer to use their phone, and most people don't own a high-end editing suite modern day times, which is also perfectly acceptable. But whatever you do, it has the flexibility to let you do it in a way that you want to do it. Ultimately, there is no right or wrong way to edit video footage. Anyone who tells you there is just not right. We all have different preferences. Ultimately, you can edit in a way that you like with the same camera. Now, no product is perfect, and the Insta360 GO Free is no exception. The biggest downside is the very limited battery life, lasting around 45 minutes per charge. This might be a deal breaker for users planning to use it for longer recording sessions and longer rides. In addition, the camera has a built-in battery, so you're unable to stock up on a platter of batteries like you can do with a traditional action camera. Now, for me personally, this wasn't much of an issue because I more or less used this camera solely when I was off the motorbike, which meant that it stayed on charge the whole time in my rucksack when I wasn't using it. However, it's also worth mentioning that just like other action cameras, you can charge the camera in the housing whilst recording. So in the same way that I like to keep my GoPro on charge whilst recording from my helmet, you can also do the same with this. Now, another point to consider is the lack of a microphone input. Now, Insta360 did point this out to me prior to the camera arriving, so I was aware that I was unlikely to replace my full-time helmet camera with this, because there is no way for you to record audio to the camera from within the helmet. However, despite that, I did think the audio was surprisingly good, but obviously for motorcycle talking videos, it's not fit for purpose. Now, I certainly didn't expect to pick up the level of noises that it did, and Insta told me that they are working on a potential new model that does come with a mic input. However, when this gets released is uncertain. But I am incredibly excited because if they did manage to crack the camera with this level of versatility and a microphone input, they are going to be top of the market, at least in my heart. Now let's talk about real world performance. I took the Insta360 GO Free on a variety of adventures, different circumstances all across Norway, and as I said before, it's now going to become a firm kit staple of mine. I took this camera in windy conditions on the beach, I took it in dark conditions in underground bunkers, and I even used it daily in the rain, and the results were impressive. Now, the camera's ability to adapt to different lighting conditions was incredible, and the audio quality, although not perfect, it was still decent for an action camera, particularly one of this size. It far superseded my expectations, and I'd go as far as to even say this camera is, if they continue the level of development as to what they're doing now, I'm so impressed with this thing. Now let's talk about price. In terms of price, the cost of this camera is on par with the latest GoPro 11. So it's not incredibly expensive. It is not the most expensive camera on the market, but it's also still not cheap. You're looking at a couple of hundred. Is the Insta360 GO Free worth the investment? Now, despite a very few amount of drawbacks, the compact size, the excellent image quality, and also the innovative features make this camera a strong contender in the action camera market. If you're a content creator on the move, or you're an adventure enthusiast looking for a pocket-sized companion, the GO Free could be an absolute game changer for you. I know it was an absolute game changer for me. I cannot imagine traveling without this camera anymore. Outside of my helmet setup, this camera is by far my favorite. I would honestly pick this over my point and shoot. And the moment they crack the ability to put a microphone in and possibly some external SD cards, this will 100% replace my GoPro. I'm just waiting for the mic input. However, until then, I am heavily reliant upon a camera that can accept an external microphone because of the type of content creation I make on the motorcycle. So up until that point that they do get it, it is going to remain my secondary camera. But I know that this is going places. I wasn't that impressed with the 360 camera. I have been so impressed with this camera. I love it so much. And there you have it, folks. That is my in-depth review of the Insta360 GO 3. Now, if you do have any questions or if you've tried the camera yourself, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. And as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, ride safe, stay crazy. My name's Safi Sprocket, and I'll see you next week.
This one was completely my fault.